Hello guys, it's the creator of Malhalla here. So I wanted to start off a new series that's a bit different from what I've done before, where I give lessons in a natural language, in this case Finnish. I've been learning Finnish for about two and a half years now. I'm not a native speaker, but it's something that I'm really passionate about, and it's probably my favorite language, at least among natural languages. With these lessons, I kind of want to do something a bit different than you might find in your usual language lessons or language courses, where I delve a bit deeper into the linguistics or underlying explanations and details of the grammar, and also to sort of compare it with what is present in English. So in our first lesson, lesson 1, we'll be talking about the Finnish alphabet and pronunciation. So to start things off, let's just go through each letter of the Finnish alphabet to sort of give you an idea of how they're pronounced. A. So this is a back vowel, back and open vowel. It's sort of like the A in father in English. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, Y, Go, Al, Am, An, O, Pe, Gu, Ar. As you probably noticed, is a trilled R. As, Te, U, Ve, kaksois V, Ax, U. This is a front closed rounded vowel, sort of like the French U sound. So U. Zeta, ruotsalainen O, A. So this is a front open vowel, or you can call it a wide A. It's similar to the A in cat in English. A and Ö. This is a mid-front rounded vowel, so it's similar to E, except you round your lips and it becomes Ö, like a front O sound. Ö. And lastly, while this doesn't have its own place in the Finnish alphabet, it does have its own sound, the Finnish NG sound. To sort of demonstrate how it's pronounced, I use the name enga, to sort of demonstrate that. It's kind of similar to the NG sound in English, except you don't have the G stop sound, g. It's just you hold out the nasal sound, enga. Now you'll probably notice that in this list of letters, some are highlighted blue, some are highlighted red. So the red ones are almost never used in writing Finnish, and the sound that they represent is represented by other letters in the alphabet. And so you'll only see them in maybe foreign names, like the A with the circle on top is literally called the Swedish O, because it represents a different sound in Swedish, but in Finnish it just is pronounced the same as O. And then similarly, the blue letters, while they aren't native to Finnish, they do represent their own sound in most speakers' pronunciations, and we'll get a bit more into that in the next slide. So the first thing I want to talk about are stop consonants. So in English, or American English at least, we differentiate stop consonants between what's called fortis and linis. And these terms, fortis and linis, are sort of just a general term that covers a broad series of ways we pronounce these two consonants. So the first one are the fortis consonants, so P, T, and K, right? And at the beginning of words, we aspirate, then we add a puff of air, so you get top. You have that H, the H sound added to it. While at the end of words, we usually stop the sound completely, or we even add like a glottalization, so like an sound to it, so you get not. And then in the middle of words, we often turn it into a tap, so it becomes a very short D-like sound, so otter, otter. And then also, when it's preceded by S, it becomes unaspirated. It loses that H sound that you would normally have at the beginning of a word. So stop, stop. There's no longer that puff of air there. Now this contrasts with the Linus consonants, so B, D, and G, or bada, ga, where at the beginning of words, they're typically voiced. So you have doc, for example, doc. And at the end of words, while it is usually still voiced, it also causes the vowel to lengthen, to become long. So you get odd, odd. Finnish, on the other hand, simply has a voiceless versus voice distinction. So the voiceless consonants, being pe, te, ko, are never aspirated and are pronounced the same no matter their position in the word. So for example, tapa, at the beginning of the word, you can see that it's unaspirated, ta, ta, tapa. Tavat, at the end of the word, it's still pronounced the same, and then in the middle of a word, heti, still pronounced the same. This contrasts with the voiced consonants, be, de, ge. So for example, duuni and saada, it's always voiced. Now it should be noted that be and ge aren't necessarily native to Finnish, and so some speakers might not differentiate the voicing between be and be, for example, and ko and ge, but the distinction still exists between the alveolars, so te and de. Moving on, I also want to talk about gemination. So this is basically long consonants, extending the length of a consonant or how long you hold it. So in English, when we write a word with a double consonant, it never changes the pronunciation of the consonant itself. It might influence nearby vowels or something like that, but it never influences the consonant itself. So if we look at some examples here, writing versus hitting, the single T and the double T are pronounced the exact same. Sleeping and slipping, the single P and the double P have the exact same length. Liking and licking, same thing. And then finish and finish, right? Well, in Finnish, this is not the case. Finnish really likes their double consonants, and they really like gemination. And so you just want to hold the consonant, whatever it is. If it's doubled, you just hold the consonant for longer. So, for example, you have heita and heittää. Tapa, tappaa. Pako, pakko. Kisa, kissa. Mene, mennä. Viime, vimma. Olo, olla, and so on. So the next thing I want to talk about is a somewhat similar concept called vowel length, where in Finnish you have short and long vowels, and basically when you have a long vowel you just want to hold it longer. We do have a similar thing in American English. However, it's non-phonemic, so that means it's unnecessary to discern words. This is because it's dependent on whether or not the consonant at the end of a word is fortis or linus. So the vowel is going to be short when it precedes a fortis consonant and long when it precedes a linus consonant. However, this is only half of the distinction, because the other half of the distinction is going to be with the voicing of the actual consonant. So to give some examples, here you have hit and hid. So you'll notice that the I sound, the vowel in hid, is much longer than the vowel in hit. Hit, hid. Bat, bad. Pick, pig. Det, dead, and so on. Now in Finnish, where you have this long versus short vowel distinction, it is phonemic, and it's necessary to discern the meaning of words. So short vowels are always written with one letter, while long vowels are written with two letters, similar to the way gemination is written for the consonants. So if we look at some examples here, tuli, tuuli, you'll notice the difference in length between those vowels. Tuli, tuuli. Kylä, kyylä. Kota, koota. Kala, kalaa. And so on. So next we can talk about diphthongs, because In addition to vowel length and gemination, Finnish also really likes diphthongs. So what are diphthongs exactly? They're basically a combination of two vowel sounds that are treated as one vowel sound within the phonology of a language. So specifically whether or not they fit into a single syllable. So in English, we have diphthongs such as I, oi, and ow. So for example, buy, boy, and cow. Now to give an example of a non-diphthong vowel sequence, so where you have two vowel sounds that come together but they aren't treated as the same syllable, an example in English would be newer. So you have the oo vowel sound and the vowel sound, but they're treated as two separate syllables. Newer. It's not a diphthong. Now in Finnish, there's a lot of diphthongs. You can broadly break them down into three separate categories. So the first one are those ending with E. So you have I, oi, a, oi, and ui. And then the next group or category are those ending with U. So ao, o, eo, iu. And then the next one are those ending with U. So ao, o, iu. And then finally you have the open diphthongs. So all of these other diphthongs that end with E, U, and U are all closing. So the mouth is going from a more open position to a more closed position. With the open diphthongs, it's the opposite, where it goes from a more closed position to a more open position. And these include O, ie, and ue. Now it's important to note that there are lots of vowel sequences in Finnish where they are not diphthongs, they are separate syllables. So these include examples such as mua, so you have the u, a vowel sequence, which are treated as two separate vowels, two separate syllables, and bimea, again with the a sequence, which is treated as two separate syllables. So mua, bimea. Moving on to our next point here, stress. So in English, stress is not fixed. It can occur anywhere in a word, in any position on any syllable. So if we look at a few examples here, you can have stress on the first syllable, so battle. The ba is stressed here, it's the hard syllable, battle. Or on the second syllable, about. Or anywhere else in the word really. So if we look at a really long example where you have it on the third syllable, international, right? In Finnish, the stress is fixed and it follows strict rules. It can't just occur anywhere in the word. So the primary stress is always on the first syllable. So if we look at an example here, an example sentence, you'll notice that the stress on each of these words is on the first syllable. So kuka, sinä, olet. And then another example, mitä sinulle kuuluu? Secondary stress, on the other hand, usually occurs on odd syllables, so on every other syllable following the primary stress on the first syllable. So we would look at an example here, opettaja, opettaja. So you'll notice that the primary stress is on o, and then the secondary stress is on the ta, opettaja, dada, dada, opettaja. Now, this isn't always the case. The secondary stress does change if the following syllable is heavy. So what do we mean by heavy? We mean that the syllable either has a long vowel or it ends in a consonant. And if it is followed, if what would normally be the secondary stress is followed by a heavy syllable, then the stress shifts to the right. So if we look at this example, opettajalle, you'll notice that yal is a heavy syllable, it ends in a consonant, and so while ta would normally be the secondary stress since it's on the odd syllable, it's followed by that heavy syllable, so the secondary stress moves over one to the right and it becomes opettajalle, da 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 da, opettajalle. And yeah, that's Finnish stress in a nutshell. So, now that you know the basics of Finnish pronunciation, let's go through some practice words. Viikko, viikko. Tänään, tänään. Kännykkä, kännykkä. Tehdä, tehdä. Kaunis, kaunis. Yö, yö. Englanti, englanti. Kahvi, kahvi. Hyvä, hyvä. Jäätelö, jäätelö. Musiikki, musiikki. Koulu, koulu. Tyyny, tyyny. Rakkaus, rakkaus. And now for some tongue twisters. Lauri löysi ruplan rahan jyrkän penkkereen reunalta. Lauri löysi ruplan rahan jyrkän penkkereen reunalta. R:n kierrään ympäri orren, S:n pistän taskuun. R:n kierrään ympäri orren, S:n pistän taskuun. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and you benefited from this lesson. I intend to make more of these in the future. I really am passionate about Finnish and I really want to, share this with other people and help others who are interested in learning this language. I will also be working on more Sindarin lessons in the future, as well as some other surprises. So be sure to subscribe and leave a like, and stay tuned.